And welcome back. I am the database guy. Thank you for joining me to presentation 4, video 2 on tables. Please like and subscribe as always. This is free to you. I'm giving this to you at no cost to you and hoping it will help improve your repertoire. It should. We are in our 4th bullet point here of tables, and this is the practical. So we're sort of repeating what we did in video 1, but we're going to be doing this in Access. All right, so we'll go to Access and we'll talk about data types and keys and things of that nature and relationships as well. Okay, so here we are, and we're in our blank database. Nothing's here. Nothing is here at all. There's nothing added to it. There are no tables. There are no queries. There's nothing. No queries, no forms. Oh, let me go to forms. And no reports and so on. Nothing. It's a blank database. It's pristine. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is create a table. Now, you have some options here. If I were to create here, and you've seen this one before, it's going to throw in one field already, which is an auto-numbered field. Okay, and I could change the field name up here, right, and then add in a new field and make this one field title, and so on, right? Sorry, I didn't spell that one right. Come on. There we go. Boy, gotta get better with the spelling. There we go. But we're not going to use this. There's a better one. No, we don't want to save that, and we're off. We're going to go into table design, which is in design view. Okay, so one of them is you open the table as a created table and you work on it. You're sort of in a design view, and the other one is actual design view, which looks like that. First field is ISBN, and it's a short text we're going to have here. So that's the first field. We're going to use that because it's an alphanumeric, right? And ISBN, it's got letters and numbers. If you try to go beyond 255, looks what happens. It doesn't like it. If you go below it, it's fine. And if you come here, you're good. Now, there are 3 fields I want to look at. Only these 3 at this point in time: required, allow 0 length, and indexed. Now, I'm not going to say what indexed is, but it's something that speeds up searches, and we'll get into it at a later time. Seeking yes, but slows updates. So when you seek yes, you get faster searches. And then node, it says here, no duplicates, prohibits duplicate values to the field as well. So in other words, you couldn't have duplicate values when you have a no. So, and you can always press F1 for help on all of this stuff. But anyway, my point to make here is that required, it's important to note that if you're entering data in at a table level within directly in the tables, which you never do, but if you do that and you have required set to yes, you have to enter a value in. It sort of locks the user to ensuring that they enter data in. You don't do this in a graphic user interface. You will validate the data, make sure data exists. So we really don't need that at this point. 0 length means you could enter a null. That's something you really don't want to happen, but it could. And then, of course, we just talked about index. Now, setting a primary key up here, we select the field. We can either right-click in the corner of the field here in this empty space and select primary key, or up at the top. There's 2 different ways to go about doing that. And in Access, we click on it, boom. We get a primary key, and we see our key. And now we look at those 3 records, 3 properties here of this field, and now it's required as yes. 0 length says yes as well, which for that one, you really couldn't allow a 0 length string if it's a required value. But what it's saying is it's possible to have something that is null, because a null is not a duplicate, but you can't have more than one null. You think about it. And then, of course, we said here with yes, setting yes, no duplicates, and it prohibits duplicate values. Setting no allows duplicates. So this is interesting, and you want to always, whenever you have a primary key, it will always set it to no duplicates. You could set other values to no duplicates, but be cautious, because if you set a field, as what I'm calling a value, if you set a field to no duplicates, then you're expecting unique data, and that's usually not the case. And we'll see that. Field title. That's also going to be a short text. As I said, in the table level, we're never entering data directly into the table, but for the purposes of this example, we're going to set this to yes, just to show you what happens, and the zero length is in there as well. Field year, this is going to be a number, and here we can have a number or we can have a large number. That was not one of the data types I talked about, nor did I talk about date time extended. These are additional capabilities, but not things you typically would use. So let's go down to our properties here, and you see we're at a long integer here. We hit the drop down. You have some possibilities for a number. You have a byte, an integer, a long integer, single, double, replication ID, and decimal. Decimal, be wary. A decimal is, in fact, could be a decimal, but I find that double is really what you use for a decimal. The idea of that, let's see, for this field, select predefined. So if we go here, it doesn't tell us exactly what it is. We could go to F1. Let's do a function F1 and see if we can bring up the help. And it's not bringing it up right now, probably because I'm in my mode here that it won't. But anyway, we'll leave it as an integer, a long integer. And what I'll do is, in my next video, I'll go through the capabilities of each one, which I didn't, because the text you don't need to worry about, but the data types, the attributes of the number data type should be known to you. Okay. And then here, we're going to put in a foreign key, PUB. And that one's going to be a number as well. Because remember, let's go back to our presentation. We go into our foreign key. So the foreign key is a field in one table that references the primary key in another table. Now, I'm putting it as a number, or I'm specifying it as a number here because the primary key we're going to use is a number. It could be a short text, but your primary key would have to be a short text. So in other words, if I were looking for this ISBN, I had a foreign key for an ISBN in another table, I would set it to short text, not number, okay? Because I would have to match those up to create a relationship, and you're going to see that, all right? While we're here, field date, we're going to put that one in, and we're going to look at date here as well, date time. And we have format. Now, a lot of these data types will have a format that you can specify. And here you see it should be self-explanatory. Whatever I pick, my date will be in that format. So I'm going to pick medium date. All right. And while I'm here, I'm not going to do this just to tell you what caption is, but every single one has a caption on it. You're going to find out what that means in a moment. The next one will be, we're going to say field new, and we're going to make this one yes, no. So this is sort of what we call a Boolean. A Boolean is a yes, no, true, false you see here, or on, off. You can select which one you want. The side over there, where it says true, yes, and on, are the values for which it defaults to. We'll leave it as yes, no. Right now it's defaulting to no. We could specify it. Whoops, sorry about that. Actually, yes, we go into there. We can specify that to yes or no, whatever we want it to default or nothing, by the way. We don't have to default to any value. So if I do that, let's just take it off the default just to prove my point to you. When we go to a record and we create something, there should be no value there. Which is the same thing as no, by the way. I don't think it matters. Let's default it to yes. Just type in yes. And when we open up the new record, it'll be checked automatically. You'll see that. So again, this again here is not what you would do. You wouldn't have a default value here. What you would do is when you opened up a record in the graphic user interface, you would default the checkbox to a yes, no, and you probably would have it hidden unless you would want the user to select that checkbox. What happens again at table level is very different than what happens in the graphic user interface. And what Access does is they try to restrict things, and you can use it, but you've got to be wary about it. You don't want to double up on it. You don't want to have it saying your default value must be yes here, and then set it to yes. And you're doing work twice for no reason, right? But in any event, I'm going to just set it for yes for the purposes of showing you this. The next one is field attach, we're going to call it, and that's the attachment field, which is here. I'm not going to do the OLE object, which is any kind of a file you want to add to that. We're not doing a calculated or a lookup. Those are the two I don't want you to even bother with. Hyperlink, you can try it out on your own. When you type something in, it'll create a hyperlink. Okay. Oh, one more field amount, and that's going to be our currency. We talked about the currency one and the currency, and here the format is currency, and you see how it looks. Now we're going to put this in euros. If you wanted any other form of currency, you would just go to a general number, all right, and you would set it out not from auto, but from two places. Generally, that's how you do it. I'm going to leave it as euros to two places. So we're good. We're going to close this down, say yes. Call this table books. All right. Okay. We're going to open that up. And now you see, look what happened. The new checked itself off as a default value. Wonderful. The ISBN here, we're going to have 1234 ABC, just something random. Oh boy. Looks like I didn't put in. Okay, we're going to get out of this for a minute. And we're going to go back into design view. I think I didn't type in, yes, I didn't. I left out the F. I want to show you this to show you what they would look like. Okay. Save it up here. All right, and got it, and away we go. Go into datasheet view, which is how you open things, either in design or datasheet. Here we are again, checked off. So 1234 ABC. We'll go Moby Dick. Yeah, year 1888. Now this FK pub here, it's a foreign key. I'm going to just put in 1 there as a number. We don't have another table that it links to. Remember, under foreign key, field in one table references the primary key in another. I just want to illustrate this point to you. 7, or, all right, what today's date is, yeah, right, 7th. There we go. We could uncheck this if we want. We're going to leave it checked. We're not going to put in, if we click on this, it's going to ask us to add an attachment, just so you see what that does. Now, it will do the same thing in graphic user interface if that field exists, so the user can add whatever file attachments they desire. And then here, we're going to put 20 euros. Tab over, and we've added the record. And we're going to try to add another one. All right, scarlet letter. And I'm doing this for a reason, and I think you can see it. 1882. Let's do this for today. Hit the, yeah, there we go. And 30 euros. Changes you made would create duplicate values. So our index duplicate says, no, sorry, can't do that. We put a 5 in there, make it unique, and all is good. We'll do one more. Steppenwolf. Um, 1. We'll add in today's date here, and let's see, let's make it a unique 2550 to show you that the two places can exist, and they do. And let's add one more while we're at this. Let's see. All right. I'm just throwing in random stuff here, and none of this is, needs to be checked. 40. Let's make it an interesting number. 42. Okay. So we got 4 entries in here. The point I want to make to this is that the publisher foreign key not pointing to anything. I could enter any number I wanted to enter in there. There would be no issue. Close this down here. All right. What I'm going to do is go into design view, by the way, and take out the last 4 of these because we don't really need them. Save it. And right click on it. You can do it here or you can do it here. Let's see. Can we do it? No, it's only design view here. We can do it into the view here. There's another way to do it here as well. Design or data sheet. And as you see, we have lost. Now here we could add, again, we could add more fields if we wanted to. We don't want to. Once we establish our schema, which is what we call the table structure, overall, we don't want to add anything to it. Now we're going to create another table here. We'll call this field publisher ID. We're going to have an auto number here. All right, auto number. Okay. And then field pub is going to be a short text. All right. We're going to save this. Yes, we're going to call this table pub. Yes, and there's no primary key defined, and I'm going to say yes, let it define a primary key. When we go back into that one in design view, well, actually we can do it several ways. Let's see. Design view. Right. So we can change the view from here if we want to design data. Notice it placed our primary key right there, where it should have on the auto number. We could have assigned it as well. So we'll have pub1, pub2, and pub3. And you notice that it is assigning the auto number. Now, if I were to delete this line here, I want to illustrate something to you and type back pub3. I want you to see what happens. It goes to the next number in the sequence. It's very important you understand that. Question would be, well, how do you reset that? I'll show you. Yes. What we're going to do here is delete 4, go to Database Tools, Compact and Repair. It's going to open it back up. Now when I go to Pub, Publishers Table, I get it back. But that's the only way you can do it. And you generally, what you do is if you're working as a developer and you want to clean out a table and reset that auto number, that's how you do it. Database Tools, Compact, and of course Repair. Okay. So going back to books here, it still doesn't matter if we look at this as to what number I place in there because there's no restriction on it. I'm still not pointing directly to the table. I'm just entering numerical data in a field. So we're going to go to our relationships, and you notice both tables are already in there. First thing I want to do for you is to show you, right click anywhere and show tables. There's more than one way. Again, Access is loaded with this. You can click here. So I can right click, hang on a minute, show table, and I can click or drag or double click and it'll bring it in. And on this side, I can drag it in as well. All right. So in order to ensure that the ID, the number I pick, is connected to a publisher, I have to create a relationship. We go back to here, foreign key. Field in one table that references the primary key in another, right? So foreign keys establish relationships between tables and ensure data in one table corresponds to a valid entries in another. All right, so we're going to take our pub, foreign key pub, bring it up to here, drag it over there, and we see this little dialog. And we see the relationship type is already determined as one-to-many. We're going to check off the box at the bottom called Enforce Referential Integrity. What that means is I must have a publisher existent in the publisher's table in order for me to select the ID in the books table. If I don't have that, I can't do that. All right, and you'll see what will happen. Cascade update relates fields. There's a change. This really isn't something that's a huge problem, but if a change is made to a publisher's name, you will see that change flash across all data. We don't generally have an issue with this so much. It's the deleted one, but if I delete a publisher, what's going to happen is I'm going to delete every single book from that publisher. I don't want to orphan data. In other words, if I delete a publisher and leave the books there with the publisher's number, I have data that points to nothing, essentially. There's no publisher anymore, so how can I have that data? And then we're going to hit the create here. All right, now we have join types here. We're not going to talk about them here. Right now, only include rows where both are equal. So I'm going to look in table books and find a value in table pub that it matches and vice versa. I'm going to make sure they are equal. If I don't find something in table pub that I'm putting in table books, it won't work. All right, you do have the other types are left and right. And then you have another thing, create new, and it's going to create a secondary join. So you could have underneath here multiple joins, relationships rather, joins what we call relationships. We're not going to do that right now. It's kind of complicated. I've done it, but it's not the time to really go into there. And we're going to see this here now. Look at this illustration. You have one on one side and infinity on the other side. That's the one-to-many illustration. I'm going to hit the save button. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the pubs table. And I see nothing for publisher 3. I see an entry for publisher 2, and I see 3 entries for publisher 1. To really put this to you, we're going to go to table books, and I'm going to enter in another ABC. Whoops, let me go back. Sorry. Yeah, I know. 1, 2, 3, 8 to ABC. And then, let's see. The pit and the pendulum. Hope I'm spelling pendulum. I hope I'm spelling that right. 1886, we'll call it. And now we're going to put in something interesting here. Remember, we have 1, 2, and 3. Let's see what happens with 4. Can't do it. Can't do it because it's looking for something that doesn't exist. We'll go 3. Now, you may say, wait a minute, hold on. This is what the user has to do? No. We're not going to see this in the graphic user interface. I'm going to walk you through something right now. We're going to go into design view here for the books. I'm going to show you what it would look like. Go to the lookup tab. Right now we're in text box. We're going to go to combo box. Then we're going to go over here, and we are going to go to select the row sources table pub. Okay. Now we're going to save this for a moment. I'm going to open it up again. And what I want you to see is what happens. Now we have a drop down, but now, well, gee, that really doesn't help me all well either because I don't know what 1, 2, and 3 means. And you'd be right. So we're going to close this down or actually go into design view. Actually, I'm going to do it through here. Design view, show you both ways, and go back to my lookup. And here, okay, I'm going to have a column count not of 1, but of 2. I want to see both the ID and the name. Okay, I'm going to save this, go back into my datasheet view, and now look here. And drop it down. Whoops, I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go. A little bit better. Not terribly bad, but why do I need to worry about the numbers? I don't. I really don't. So we're going to come back here and go to design view. And we have one last thing here, the column width. So we're going to have 0 inches for the ID and 1 for the publisher name. I'm going to come back here to datasheet view. It's going to ask me to save it. We'll do that. And now was what the end user would see. 1, 2, or 3 they could select. So we're going to add one more entry here. Let's see, ABC. Oh, 9. The Raven. Hello, I didn't spell that right. Let's go again. The Raven. Yeah. Put some date in there. Any kind of year in there we want. And then the publisher here will be 3 as well. Okay. So we're going to close this down. We're going to come over here and take a look at, sorry, there we go. All right, so you can see now that I can look at all the books under a certain publisher, and my search capability is incredibly fast doing this. Now, I'm going to show you what I talked about referential integrity. I'm going to delete this record. It's going to tell me that relationships that specify cascading deletes will cause one record in this table along with relateds to be deleted. Remember what I said, we didn't want to orphan data. We can say yes. Go back to the books table and we see that only publishers 2 and 3 exist. This is important, this is huge. This is why we don't delete data either. We don't do that. While I'm here, one final point I want to make is the caption I talked about. I'm going to type in ISBN because you noticed when we were in design view, the headings were within the names of the fields. I'm going to also put in caption title. All right, and get that in there. Year. And there we go. And a publisher. Good. And we're going to go, yes, we want to say that. I could have just gone to the view if I wanted to. And you see what happens. You see what it does. Now, one more thing. I want to go back to my design view, go to my lookup, and change this back to a text box. Save it. Go to datasheet view, and now you see here what data it's actually storing. It's still storing the numerical data, and it will. And what we're going to do here to really close this out, create. Now you can do a wizard here for queries, but I don't like the wizard. I don't like any of the wizards myself. Form, they tend to default values, and you're going to see this with the forms into, they name the control, if it's a text box or whatever it might be, to the same name as the field name, which is bad. We're going to go into query design, And this is very much like the relationships as we saw. Look at the left and the right side. We're going to put books in and double click that one, and we'll drag and drop this one here. It doesn't matter which way you go. You could have double clicked both. I'm just showing you the two ways it works. And we're going to take in the ISBN, the title, the year, and I don't want to select this. I'll get the number. I'll select this. So I'm going to do something interesting for a moment. I'm going to get rid of that. This may seem very weird to you, but it's important that I make this point. We're now going to go to, now you have in query view, you have three different views. You have your design view, SQL view. I'm going to call this query books. And this is not a cross tab. So, oh, I must have selected cross tab. Sorry. Should be a select query, not a cross tab. I'll get to those when we get into queries, but let's go back to our data sheet. And you see here something very weird. I want to make this point. It took each entry, there are 3 entries in the books table, and it crossed it with each publisher in the publishers table. So 3 times 2 is 6. This is incorrect, as you know. All right. So you see Scarlet Letter, publishers 2 and 3, Pit and the Pendulum, publishers 2 and 3. And so this is what's happening. So if you don't have any relationship established, I'm going to establish it back here again. Here, I'm sorry, wrong one. Oh, what am I doing? Boy, that, okay. It's over here, my foreign key to my primary key, and yeah, so okay. Now, let me get rid of everything here for a moment. Let me do the show table and bring everything back. Books and publishers. And now you see it reestablish the relationship. If I had just selected and dragged, I could establish a relationship, but it wouldn't be correct. It would work, but you really want to see this. You want to see the established relationship in the relationships table. So in other words, here, you want to see this. Sometimes you will just drag and create the relationship yourself, and it will work. But for our purposes here, I'm sorry, we got to just select and delete that. First 3, and there we go. So now when I go to my datasheet view, I'll now see the correct 3 matched up with their correct publisher. All right, I just want to do something for the sake of, let's go to SQL view, and you see here we have a select statement. We're going to go over this when we do queries. From what tables, and how is it joined, and how are they grouping them? And we're going to go over this when we see this in queries. And then, of course, my design views here. Now, if I right-click here and go to SQL view here, I'm going to see it here as well, right? I'm going to see what it looks like here. So the point here is that, and let's go back to design view one more time, and let's get rid of this for a minute, and let's reestablish it like this. Well, if I view it, I think it's going to say it's going to say the same thing. What is the difference between the two of them? So let's look again. The difference is I'm not seeing the one-to-many. I'm not seeing the established relationship with this. But I know it's going to be a one-to-many. So what we'll do here is, once again, delete these out and bring them in this way. I actually got to drag and drop. I can't double-click. Boop, there we go, and boop, there we go. Now, we're almost done. ISBN, title, and that. And you'll notice there's a group by here. This is the group by. When we go into this, it's grouping them by books. By books, by ISBN, by title, by year, and by publisher. I'm going back to my view here. Actually, let me go to my design view, and I'm going to take this off. I'm going to right-click in here. Again, let me show you that. Click into the group by, right-click, and take off the totals. Why? If you have, and there's going to be cases where you're going to have repetitive data and you can group it, it'll work. But here it doesn't matter. We don't really have repetitive data here. It's going to be the same data. So when we go to our SQL view, really this is the true SQL view. We're selecting from table books the ISBN, also the title from table books, also the year from table books, and also the publisher from table publisher. And we're doing that from table publisher. We're making an inner join on table books where publisher ID equals the foreign key. It should really kind of make sense when you see it. So this is your first look at a query. And it's a select query, meaning that it's a query to just extract data. We're not making a table. We're not appending it to another table. We're not updating data. And the crosstab one, I'm not going to get into it right now. We're running a little late. But I could make it like a pivot table. All right, and a delete query would delete data. Now I'm going to save this. Go yes. And now, if we go to queries, we're going to see our query there. If we go to, let's see, tables and related views, we're going to see table books has table books table, and table pub has table pub table, and query books. And then if we see object types, by object type, we're specifying exactly what it is. And let's see, all access object types. That's another one. You'll see now the breakdown. What tables we have, what queries we have. All right. So we didn't do a many-to-many yet. We'll get into that probably in video 3. But you saw the primary and foreign keys, which for the publisher's book, the primary key is an auto number. And as I said, if you delete a record, it'll go to the next number unless you do compact and repair, which you don't typically do in a lifetime of a database, but you could do it. But you don't, how can I put this? You don't ever do it for the tables in the back end. You're doing it probably a compact and repair for your graphic user interface to clean things up. And we're going to know what that is much later in the course. And then the foreign key we saw, which was, whoops, I'm hitting the wrong, which was here. Let me close that down so I don't open that window. Goodbye, go. We saw that here under database tools, relationships. We created our first relationship. It was wonderful. And we saw, here's a foreign key. Here is the publishers. Now, just to end out here, I know I'm running late. Would we ever include this as a foreign key? It is possible. It is absolutely possible. But for our purposes here, I don't see us doing it in this database yet or having a need for it. So right now, what we have, and we're going to be expanding this in our 3rd video for tables, we're going to have to deal with the authors, right? That's where we're going to see the many-to-many, just so you know, all right? So that is it, or does it for today's video for tables video 2, which is our demo into Access. When we come back for our next one, please like and subscribe as always. You have video 3 on tables. We will see us adding a table. We will see the many-to-many relationship. And you'll be seeing the birth of this schema that we're creating for a books table. So, in any event, as I said, stay with me. This is free to you. Always like and subscribe. And I will see you. Have a good day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Bye.